Hey family, my name is Chris, I am your home gamer dad, and I welcome you to the next part of my family meeting talking about top scary things. Last time I talked about the top scary video games I've played, or at least the franchise and everything. Now we're going to be looking at the top scary board games. I got more than 5 here, so let's try to jump into this quickly. As I mentioned in the horror video game one, your list is absolutely going to be different than mine. I did mention that I have not been in the world of board gaming for that long. I've been in video games much longer than I have board games. Board games, I'm about 5-6 years now. So there are plenty of things out there that I have not played, that I just recently learned about, that I don't even know exist yet. So my list is just going to be based off of my experience of things that I can get my hands on, what I was able to play, and things along that ways. Yours is going to be way different, and that is where I reach out to you and say, what are some great horror board games that you've played? Send those lists down to the comment section below. Let me know your top scary games that you have played. Let me know why you like them, what makes them exciting, what makes them thematically creepy or whatever it is. Because to be honest with you, translating something scary from a board game to a mental state and everything is very difficult. There are certain games that do it, and I'm going to maybe mention a few here as I talk to you guys. I want to know the core games themselves. What are some of the core horror games that you guys enjoy? As for what I like, here's the first one. Number 1, Horrified. And yes, both of these are on the list. You have the Horrified Universal Monsters and the Horrified American Monsters. Regardless of anything, this is a great co-op game where you are in a particular no-name town or village or whatever, and your job is to basically defeat whatever monster is plaguing the town that you're in. Running around killing people, causing type of mayhem and mischief and things along that ways, or just being a general annoyance. Or very hard to find as opposed to playing as Bigfoot or against Bigfoot in American Monsters. The Universal Monsters are a staple for horror fans. You know, Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Invisible Man, Frankenstein, The Mummy. These are monsters that, regardless if you've seen their movies or whatever, you know them, you've heard of them. They are mainstream, and to be able to go up against them in this classic setting and everything is absolutely fantastic. Really amazing artwork here. The gameplay is really cool because, again, it's a cooperative thing where you pick one of your heroes or investigators to do your various actions, and then the monsters go. The monsters move around town doing different things that, they do. Dracula will hypnotize you. The Bride of Frankenstein and Frankenstein will slowly work themselves together in order to be able to meet. And as this happens, the town gets more and more horrified. Very hard to have an expansion for this because the way that the deck is set up, it's very monster specific. So instead of an expansion, they went with a whole new thing here, the American Monsters. And this takes cryptids from around the United States and puts them in here. And I knew most of these going into here. I think the only one I wasn't sure of was the Banshee of the Badlands. I had to look that one up. But this itches the cryptozoological bone that's in my body. Trust me, I know it exists. I have the blurry pictures to prove it. This is fantastic that they were able to take these type of creatures within myths and legends and all that other stuff and make you hunt for them as they go about doing their thing. And everybody plays very differently. No matter what monsters you play from here or the monsters you play from here, everything plays very unique, and I love it in that sense. Is it scary? No, it is not scary whatsoever. Is it tense? In the beginning, because I'm going to tell you right now, this is a very unique game in the fact that the beginning of these games are very hard, but as you start beating monsters, it gets easier and easier. It's also a harder game when you have more players because you have to be a little bit more strategic about who does what and when in order to be able to get all the different tasks done. I hope that there's a third Horrified. I hope that they find ways to maybe expanding out what already they have. But if they want to make something more modern, that would be awesome too. A lot of fan-made stuff out there. So hopefully Ravensburg is listening to the fans and gives us what they want. And that is more monsters to hunt and take down in different settings. Moving on. Number 2, The Night Cage. This was kind of an impulsive buy I had about a year ago. We were in between houses. We were staying at kind of a rental house for a while. I didn't have any of my board games at all. It was getting around that time of year where we really weren't really going out anywhere. So I happened to find people talking about the Night Cage quite a lot online, maybe because it was like October, so it is a scary game and everything. And I was very intrigued about watching the gameplays and whatnot. And so I decided to go ahead and purchase it for myself. Very happy I did, because this game is fantastic. Now, there's a lot of randomness to it. So people that are kind of advert to random games where there's really not much you can do about, because ideally what you're doing is you are inside of this never-ending labyrinth. What this game has that I have not seen in really many other games is atmosphere. The way that everything is drawn, the imagery, the simplicity of the colors and the design and everything really give you that sense of you don't know what's in front of you. Because ideally, you're moving around this endless labyrinth, and you have, there was a catch for you, and you have a candle that lights your way, and all it lights is the rooms orthogonally from you. If you move to another one, all the rooms that were lit go out, and then they change whenever you come back in, because you're pulling tiles from your candle here. And as you keep pulling tiles, your candle gets lower and lower and lower until eventually it goes out. And then you have all either succeeded by finding keys and getting to the end spot, or you are lost forever in the darkness. Even right here on the cover, on that side, of you holding the single candle and the wax just dripping on your hand, but you dare not let it go, because this is your only means of seeing where you're going. Love it, love it, love it. I can't think of any way you'd be able to expand on this other than putting in more monsters, but I would always recommend this game to somebody that's looking for a nice, creepy experience, and it's something different. Yeah, it's tile laying. You've seen tile laying before, but there's just something about this one, at least for me, that stands out amongst all the other ones. Maybe it's the setting. Maybe it's the thought behind, you know, forever being lost in darkness. I don't know. I love the creepiness to it. Definitely find the Night Cage if you can. I might talk about this later. I might even do a playthrough later. Who knows? Because I can play one player just being all the characters myself. Plays the same regardless. Moving on. Number 3. Atmosfear The Harbingers. This is a series of games that have a very strong cult following to them. You may know them as just regular Atmosphere or Nightmare. Those are also Nightmare the game. There are multiple versions of the game out. They're all VHS style games where you're going through and you're doing something on a board with a video playing next to you, and every so often something jumps up at the screen and says stop, and you have to listen to what they say and do whatever it is that they tell you to do and things along that way. I've seen plenty of videos on them, whatever, but for me it was Atmosfear The Harbingers, which was kind of an upgraded version to Atmosphere, or the Nightmare or whatever. It basically took the core game and made it way more complicated. Sadly for me, I had this game. I really did, and I loved it every time. When I moved from my apartment into my wife's house, then girlfriend, it got lost in the shuffle somewhere along the way, that and like 2 or 3 other games that I really, really loved. So it's sad that I don't have them anymore, and I do enjoy them, hoping that they come back on like Game Founder, Kickstarter, or something like that. Nightmare was actually out last year at some point. And yeah, what makes this game scary? Really nothing. There's nothing about this game that is intensely scary. If you're really not paying attention to the VHS whenever the gatekeeper pops up and just screams stop at the screen, that could sometimes cause a jump. I've seen that happen. There are cards in the game that tell you to just randomly look at somebody and scream in their face if they're scared. So a bit of a forced scare to it, but I love this game because, one, I think the art is really cool the way that all of the characters look in it. I like the concept of running around collecting the tombstones keys and then each one doing a little bit something different. So you're playing, it's only an hour long that you're playing it if you beat it, if you lose, I should say, because the VHS tape is only an hour long, and your goal is to collecting all the keys, one of each color key. This is in this game particularly. Collecting all the different colored keys, getting back to the center, and then facing your worst fear, which a bit of a forced scare in there as well. But you can be different character every time, run for a different thing. That's a modular board, so all of the different segments can be set up in a different way every time. Again, it's just good fun. It's a good fun game. It's not something you go into thinking it's going to be like a AAA title or things along that ways. Even some of the newer ones on a DVD will try to keep things different and rotate it through, but nothing for me held the same feelings as this particular one, as Atmosfear The Harbingers. Maybe because it was the first one I played, maybe because it's the one I played the most, and anything I see afterwards just doesn't hit the bar for me. I don't know, but... And I fall into that weird niche group that really likes these games for some reason. I enjoy the characters. I enjoy watching, yes, my gatekeeper whenever he pops up and everything, really trying to get into the role of whatever character you're supposed to be and listening to what they have to say and things along that way. So, yeah, it's a weird one. Yeah, there are better games out there, tons and tons of better horror games out there. But again, this is what I like, this is what I remember, and it's a horror game, technically, even though it's very loosely horror. The next one, though, is a little bit more horror-based. Number 4, Fury of Dracula. So if you liked fighting against Dracula in the Horrified game, you'll love being able to play as him in Fury of Dracula. Man, this game has been around for a long time. This is the 4th edition that I have here of the game. And really, the only difference between that and 3rd edition is it comes with these pre-painted minis, and I think the cards are a little bit bigger. But the game itself is basically the same. Now, I know between 2nd and 3rd edition, the rules did change quite a bit, adding a few more cards to it, the mix. I think it was a dice game at first, or had some dice rolling aspects or something like that. But the main point was you had the 4 vampire hunters scouring like Europe and everything, trying to find Dracula as he went around and made more vampires and tried his best to basically take over the world. This game is long. It can go anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. There's some really weird, complicated things to it. You know, you could do all different types of things with your characters, but, you know, certain things only happen during the day, certain things only happen at night. Dracula goes like maybe once every few turns or whatever, but whatever he does is absolutely like standoutish, you know. Where this really hits is the theme. It lands completely saying like, boom, this is what you're playing. You know, Dracula has the ability to turn into a bat, turn into mist, turn into a wolf, and do all those cool things. You know, Van Helsing can like stand up to Dracula a little bit better. You know, all the characters themselves have things that are supposed to help you track him down. It's a hidden movement game also, which is something that I don't see very often in games. Maybe it's just because it's not my style per se, but I do enjoy this concept of, you know, Dracula is moving on the board, but no one knows where he is. So it's this cool game of hide and seek. If you happen to find this game, because I believe it is out of print once again, I will recommend it to anybody. It doesn't matter what version you buy, 3rd or 4th, it doesn't matter. Just keep in mind, I believe 1st and 2nd version are very different. Is it scary? No, it is not scary. Is it made well in terms of like the gothic horror that it represents? Absolutely. And that's why it ranks on my top scary game list. You know, it's not scary per se, but it's a great game to play around, you know, the spooky time of year and everything, because heck, Dracula, you know, the quintessential main monster villain that, you know, everyone has heard of, and it just looks cool. It's a very well-drawn game. The art looks beautiful. And again, once you get past some of the crazier rules in the game, it is a lot of fun. Just make sure you have the time to get through it. Here we go, on to games that I have not played yet, but really want to. Number 5, Camp Grizzly. There's honestly no reason for this not to be on my list. I've only played this game through Tabletop Simulator, so I've never actually played the physical version of it. I've seen many playthroughs. I've talked about this game before on my channel. You're taking a theme that I personally grew up with, you know, the slasher genre, the kids in a camp or some other weird setting being stalked by the maniac killer and whatnot, and just them trying to survive. All the different tropes that exist in the game that I am familiar with, you know, the jock, the cheerleader, the nerd, things along that ways. Just this game hits so many points of classic horror for me that it's like, there is no way that this game would not be on my personal top list of horror games. And also just like some of the art in it is absolutely insane. You know, it can get very gory, but it can also be very silly. Like, that is why I love this game particularly. And yeah, I don't have it yet. Will I have it one day? Absolutely. When will that be? I don't know. I ask, please, please, please bring this game back to retail somehow. Make it so this way it can be available to everybody once again. I know that the designers of this game are off doing, you know, other things and they have their lives and things along that ways. But man, this game is just so cool. And I know that a second I hit it on the table, it'll never leave my table because there's just so many possible outcomes to this. You know, you're moving around different parts of the world map, or the campground, I guess really what it is. Not really a world map. It's, unless their world is very small, very short for some of them, that's for sure. And then, like, depending on what you draw, different things happen. Depending on what you roll, different things happen. You know, there's just so many different variations to a singular point of the game that, you know, it'll always be coming back and you'll always have a different experience regardless of anything. And no matter what you think you want to do in terms of a strategy in order to beat Otis, it won't really matter if he just kind of strikes out in the middle of nowhere. Oh man, this game is fantastic, and I haven't even played it ever. So yeah, this encompasses a scary game for me perfectly. Number 6, because I can't leave this off the list, Final Girl. Speaking of tropes, speaking of 80s throwbacks, speaking of throwbacks in general based on the game and everything, Final Girl. Holy crap, this game is awesome. Another one that I do not have in my collection yet. I was a full all-in backer for a Kickstarter Season 2, so I got everything. Kickstarter Season 1 hopefully will be here and, you know, within the collection. You'll see it on the wall within the next month or two. And let me tell you, once it hits, once I get Final Girl Season 1, you can expect me to play a little bit and for it to appear on this channel because I love it so much. And again, I haven't even played it yet, but I've seen so many playthroughs and I've seen so many different ways people play the game and how they do the mechanics of it, you know, rolling the dice in order to play. You know, you play the cards, you roll the dice, and the more stars you get, the more successful your action is. Final girl trope from all horror, the last remaining survivor going up against the gruesome killer. And then, of course, all the different killers that come in it. Season 1 has 5 different killers based off of, you know, Jason, based off of Freddy Krueger, Poltergeist. Geppetto the puppeteer is a little bit different, but you know, we have like a Child's Play crazy aspect with like all of his little puppets and everything. Inkanyamba is an original creation, but still, like, it's still a crazy slasher running around trying to kill, you know, all of the victims on the board, and then ultimately the final girl. It is a solo-only game. There's no 2, 3, 4 players to it, though you can have other people sitting around you and playing together. It is strictly solo and based off of the hostage negotiator original mechanics, if that helps anybody out there. It didn't for me because I never knew that game existed until I saw Final Girl. The art is fantastic in it. Everything just looks so grimy and gritty and like exactly how it should be within the world of a horror movie. They have booklets out there that talk about different kills and everything, you know, in order to like really spice up the game. Oh man, I can't wait for this one. And as soon as I get it, I will definitely let you guys know. And you can expect to see a bunch of those appear on this channel because I want to play it and I want to share my experience with you of that game. I can't wait. Can't wait, can't wait, can't wait, can't wait. So that's what I got for you, family. Those are my top 6 scary games. It would have been 5, but I couldn't leave Final Girl off of the list at all. I had Arkham Horror, the card game, on this, but that's another one that I haven't played yet. I've just seen a lot of people talk about it. It is a deck builder, so of course that is amazing for me. And even though I'm not the biggest Lovecraftian fan, I do appreciate the sanity or insanity that that world brings. Anywho, thank you all for attending today's family meeting. Let's keep the discussion going down in the comments section below. Send me your list of horror games that you enjoy playing and why. You don't have to explain every single one of them, but maybe like whatever your top 1 or 2 are. What makes them scary to you? What makes them intriguing? Why do you keep going back to them? What is something about the game that constantly makes you want to play, regardless if it's anytime during the year or, hey, it's October, it's time to whip out X, Y, and Z and play them again because they are our quintessential scary games for our gamer group. I got a lot to learn about scary board games, so please educate me down in the comment section below. I am excited to hear what you guys have in your collection and what you recommend. Thank you all so much again. I hope you guys have a happy and safe Halloween. If you don't celebrate Halloween, that's all good too. Just have a happy and safe life in general. Enjoy the scares, enjoy the spooks, enjoy the jumps and all that other good stuff. Remember, take care of yourselves and each other. We are family forever, gaming together. My little ghosts and ghouls, I will see you in the next one. Later.